truly matters, our families. Healthy families make healthy societies. I'm Randy.
And I'm Leslie. We're diving deep into the powerful insights of Dr. Randy's groundbreaking book, The Family Legacy: Shaping Culture from the Inside Out.
Hear inspiring stories and strategies to transform your family. We'll explore topics like communication, forgiveness, healing, parenting, marriage. We'll cover it all.
We'll have provoking conversations with experts, coaches, and real-life families who are benefiting from intentional family building.
This podcast isn't just about theories, it's about tools that you can implement today.
We all come from families, so this podcast is for you.
Join us on this incredible family journey. Subscribe now as we learn to do family as God designed.
Transforming families one episode at a time. Remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end. Let's go. Welcome back to Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. I am Leslie.
I'm Randy.
We are delighted today. We've got some special guests. These are our Canadian directors for the Family Reformation Project, Dan and Rachel White. Briefly, Dan is a 20-year ministry guy. He's actually not Canadian, or maybe he is, but he comes via across the pond over in England. And his wife, Rachel, is a doctor of optometry.
Yeah.
They have 3 children. They'll tell us a little bit more about them. But welcome, Dan and Rachel.
All right.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
We are so just happy to have you, and we just love you guys. And we're excited to hear what you have to share and what God's doing in you and your family in Canada. So let's just jump right in. Tell us, this is what we start with. Tell us about you and your family.
Well, Dan and I have been married almost 9 years, and we have 3 children who are currently 2, 4, and 6, which keep us very busy. So it's very fun and loud and noisy in our house.
Yeah, we have a great time with our kids, Zachariah, Eden, and Ollie. Ollie's turning 3 on Sunday, so we're excited for a little bouncy castle party, and they were really the impetus for us focusing on building a strong family. So here we are.
Yeah, tell us about that story. What got you interested, and what has your journey with the FRP been like?
Well, I initially bumped into you guys through another network of leaders and pastors across North America. And I was in one of the catalyst groups for church leaders, but I'd recently stepped out of full-time vocational local church ministry to be a stay-at-home dad. And so I'm sitting in these meetings kind of feeling a little bit frustrated because I'm hearing all of this wonderful wisdom and like applicable tools, and yet that's not what I'm doing. That's not the season I'm in. I'm in the season of being home in the trenches with my little kids.
Yeah. And
so you guys had come onto the call and were sharing about the Family Reformation Project, and I realized that's the season that we're in. So I started to listen a little bit more.
Yeah, it was very timely. I think you had really felt God put on your heart that the season we were in was currently about family. And then shortly after that was when you guys made the introduction. So perfect timing.
Yeah. And so you joined us, Dan, in the family school, right? Which is where we work with families to do family as God designed. Tell us about what that was like for you.
You know what? I didn't necessarily fully know what I was getting myself into, but what happened is we came out of a tough season with, like, as Leslie said, I've been in vocational ministry for almost 20 years. I know I don't look old enough for that, but
they can't see you. It's a podcast.
But since I came to Canada, I've worked in many different environments in ministry, and we just had a hard end to this time. It was difficult and it was painful, and we came out of it with licking our wounds in a way. And what was interesting is, even though we understood that God was shifting me into a season of family, we didn't realize how many tools that were presented through family school would be so helpful and so timely for our own healing, you know? And so one of those tools that stands out, or a couple of the tools, the fact story tool. You know, when you go through a tough time, maybe it's betrayal or denial, or kind of all those things that that Jesus experienced on the cross in, I think it was Matthew 27. A lot of those strong relational breakdowns that we don't necessarily know what to do with. And I was kind of going around in circles with a number of these things. And it was the fact story tool that you've spoken about in a previous podcast that helped me to actually get a breakthrough, because I was going round and round and round. But as I wrote out the facts and then decided to choose the story, a redemptive story that Jesus was telling through it, that helped me have a huge breakthrough, because it was a really dark season. And then the Love Without Hooks tool, wow, that challenged me to another level of forgiveness. And that was the beginning of a real breakthrough in our own lives, in our marriage, in our family. It helped us to move on from the season we've come out of and into something new.
Yeah, I think a beautiful thing about that season and all of the hurt was that it allowed, like, going through family school gave us the tools to not only navigate that season well and come out of it stronger, but it also was tools that we could implement in our marriage to strengthen our relationship. And we came out of that really tough year more connected as as spouses and more intentional in our family. So it helped us through a hard season, but it really helped our relationship.
Yeah, so good. One of the big things that's important to us at the Family Reformation Project, Leslie and I, is community. And you guys have been such a catalyst for our whole community. I mean, a community of other coaches and families like you that are really committing to live it, to give it, as we say. I mean, you guys came out and spent a week with us here, which was so fun. And we've been back to Canada your way. We got to connect, and you're just such a vital part of the team. What has that community piece meant to you guys?
Well, I can say that having come out of a season where our community was kind of cut from us, I think in a way we were lonely, and we were great. We were great candidates for investing into a community. But it was also a paradigm shift, because we're connected locally. We have, a great community of friends, but it's been actually really exciting to get to know people from across North America who have a shared sense of vision and purpose. And so it started for us. We came down to a family legacy conference in Michigan. And I think you were a little bit apprehensive at first about us even going. You're like, we don't really know these people.
Well, some of the backstory was that we had never met in person, and we had already decided to come visit, and we'd booked flights. So I went into it being like, I trust you, honey, but I don't know what we're doing.
So,
but that being said, like, the heart connection, just of the friends that we made, like, we know that this community is going to be like lifelong friends for us. Like,
that's right.
Yeah.
So coming down to Michigan, it made it very real. We were able to see the family school or the family legacy material being presented in a different way to what we'd experienced. So that was really enriching. And then from there, we came down to Arizona. In a way, we thought we were coming to hang out with friends and, if I'm honest, escape the cold weather. So that was a big plus.
Are you saying you used us to be warm?
It's okay.
We don't just go and hang out with strangers.
100%.
But even and that was the desire in my heart, was to have friends in warm places, because we live in a really cold environment. I come from a place where it rains all the time, but that's nostalgic. But to live in a place of 6 months of snow, that was a huge bonus. But it was such a surprise for us on two accounts. One, how well we got on. And there was another couple who were in our class, the Boyces, who were there. Just a real fun time. But then as we were leading up to our trip, God was beginning to lay on our hearts the desire and a vision to bring this work and this ministry into Canada. So we didn't just come for a holiday with friends. We came with a question of, okay, God,
what do you have for us?
What do you have for us?
Yeah.
What are you leading us into?
Yeah. On that community note, this is a global movement. The Family Reformation Project is a global movement to restore the family to God's design. And I love that passage in Amos where it says, how do two walk together if they don't agree? And it's rhetorical. Of course, they can't. And while we are in separate countries, all of us come from a kingdom culture. this global community where we all have this camaraderie. We all are one as sons and daughters of the King of the universe. And we are so delighted that you guys caught the vision, so much so that now you are our Canadien directors. So tell us more about that.
Well, we sat down with you guys and kind of posed the question, trying to get a feel of what you were thinking. And what was the question that they asked us in the room? Like, are you ready? Have you dealt with all of the things from the past? Because you guys knew we'd gone for a painful.
Yeah, I remember distinctly. We talked about how important it is to have a good ending before you have a new beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
How to finish well. Yeah.
So Rach quickly said, "Yeah, I think we're good." and that was even a shift in the sense that Rach was very much invested in moving forwards in this ministry. So just to give a little bit of backstory, I kind of saw my track as lead pastoring by now. You know, I'm just 40, and yet that experience for Rachel was a really negative experience because there was a cost to our family, and God warned me not to move into that specific track, like it wasn't my calling or it wasn't the right time for that. So here we are sitting with you, and Rach is like, yeah, we're good. I think we're good to move forward. I was a little bit more cautious, and perhaps there might be some things to work through. So we actually sat with some other friends who have also been on the podcast, the Grahams, Ernestine and Mike. We sat with them, and Rach thought that we were perhaps going to sit with them and talk about all of my issues and deal with my stuff to get us ready. And then she had an amazing experience there. And I don't know if we have all the time to unpack it, but
no, it was a surprise healing on levels I didn't know that I had needed. And it ended up being like an incredible, like life-changing season for us, really, what we've been walking in the last 6 months. So it's been awesome.
But one thing that I do recall from, it could be a year, it could be 2 years ago, and this question probably came before, I think it was just before we met you guys. And so just to give a little bit of backdrop, Canada is becoming more liberal in its thinking, in its mindset. And I would suggest that it's bringing a number of toxic, anti-biblical messages on family. So I'm out and about one day, and I just see a poster that's promoting things that, you know, I think that grieves God's heart. And I asked the question, how do I respond? How do we respond, Lord, to the messages that are coming through the culture? And this phrase came in my head, build a strong family, right? So it's not about standing on a corner and picketing people that don't believe the same. It's actually being a demonstration of the kingdom through the way that we live. So that set us, that really galvanized something in me to say, wow, this is what we need to go after personally. And this is what we can carry, this message we can carry to help others. And so my experience over the last 20 years is that I've immigrated to Canada. So I've started again. You know, I am a Canadian citizen, just
recently.
It only took me almost 20 years. I've lived in on the streets. I've lived in the slum hotels on the downtown east side of Vancouver. I've worked in a Salvation Army homeless shelter. I've worked in a Teen Challenge rehab. I've married into another family which has different dynamics. I've worked in a church environment. And then we also have our own family. And just realizing how critical the message of building strong families is.
Yes.
And how in all of those areas, there is different varying degrees of a breakdown of the family unit. So I see what we're entering into in Canada with the Family Reformation Project has the ability to touch all of those other spheres of influence that I've had.
Yes. So good. We can't miss this. And that is whenever we're really going after God and his kingdom, we start to think more like him, right? We surrender to his way of doing things. And the fact is he made families, and everything else in culture is downstream from the family. The family is God's government. And people wake up to that. This like that I would describe one way of saying that as a greater awakening that you just described around, wow, if we reach and build strong families, that absolutely trickles down to changing culture. And we're going to take a break real quick, but when we come back, this is what's missing, and this is what I'm excited that you guys are seeing and living and bringing to Canada. And that is, it's great to know that. Okay, culture's downstream from family. Yeah, absolutely. So what do we do? How do we do that? And it's the specific and intentional tools and processes and community and everything that is a part of the FRP that I want you to, talk a little bit about. And I really want you to share your vision for Canada as God's beginning to give it to you. So we're going to stop just for a moment, take a break. We'll be right back with Dan and Rachel White, our Canadian Family Reformation Project directors.
Are you struggling with parenting, unsure of how to raise your children in today's world? Has your marriage lost its spark and intimacy? Has your family drifted apart and lost connection? Do you feel it's too late for you? Do you want more for your family?
Our team of trained and certified family coaches will guide your family on a journey of healing, growth, discovery, and transformation, all based on Dr. Randall Bixby's best-selling book, The Family Legacy: Shaping Culture from the Inside Out.
After working with a family coach, our adult children notice our improved listening skills and express that they really felt heard by us more than ever.
Working with a family coach has empowered our kids to be able to fully communicate their thoughts and feelings. And the tools we've learned have given them the independence and confidence to know how to lovingly resolve conflict.
Our coaches will meet you right where you're at and help you learn practical strategies to shape your children's character, rebuild your marriage, and leave a lasting legacy.
Isn't it time to prioritize your family? If not now, when? Click the link below to schedule your free 30-minute consult with a family coach today.
Okay, we're back with Dan and Rachel White. They are our Canadian representatives, directors for the Family Reformation Project. And welcome back.
Yeah, it's really good to be with you.
Yeah, before the break, I said, let's hear about how to build strong families and what your vision for Canada is.
Well, as we work through the family legacy material, one thing that has struck me as we've continued to grow in it, as a preacher, as someone who loves God's word, and we're digging into it, is to see how you guys really mined from the scripture God's design for family through how he set it up with his original family. And I almost don't know how we missed that over 20 years, or how we're missing that to a certain degree within the church context, which I'd say is the gate of culture, or the sphere that we're primarily invested in. So I look at that and I think there's an amazing opportunity for us to come alongside the church, primarily just because that's been the place that we've kind of lived, but also if a church is alive and impacting its community, then it will spill over.
Absolutely.
So I think what we're talking about here is a real grid for giving church leadership and the families within those communities a practical step-by-step guide of tools and structures and things that they can put into their weekly rhythms and their monthly rhythms in their home. So one for us, why don't you talk about the ritual? Because that one's been a big one for us in the White House.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the tools, the family ritual, is just an intentional time of discipleship in our family. So we've always done it on a weekend because that's when we have the kids any given moment of the day. And our kids really look forward to it. We've coined it family fun night or family fun moment. And we try to have a game, a fun activity, like with the message behind it, and then a point of teaching, and then we make a meal together. And the kids honestly look forward to it every week. And it's just a real time of intentional discipleship that we have with our kids.
And the big aha moment for me as a parent, and I think for us, is that we are the primary disciplers of our children.
Absolutely.
Which isn't that so simple, but in many ways, I think that we have handed over, we've negated that responsibility, and we've given it to the schools. And hey, our kids are in a Christian school, so it's easier to justify that, right? They're getting a Christian education, so let's give it to the school, or let's give it to the church. But when you think about the connection in a really intentional setting that our kids are invested in, it could be 1 to 2 hours a week. And then if you step back another level, the government, and God bless the government, but the government isn't the ones that are meant to disciple our children. So that's another aha moment for us that we want to bring through this ministry, is not only the revelation that we're called to disciple our children, but then give help with the application. Because I believe that one of the main reasons that parents are handing over that responsibility is they simply don't think that they know how, or they don't know how to disciple their children. It wasn't modeled to them. They haven't seen it in action. They don't know what to do. And so it's that place of fear where we're like, so let's give it to someone else.
Or they're tired or busy or just trying to survive, right? Like how many families now with young children, especially, which we can relate to, are just trying to keep their heads above water. They're just trying to survive, right? So giving something almost like a handout that just gives you the practical steps to do that tool particularly is what a lot of people need. Like not everyone wants to do 100 hours to learn something. You just say, here's the ground rules and here's the steps.
Yeah, it really is about accepting God's design, because in his design, as parents, we've been given the responsibility to pass on his character and nature to our kids in a way that they know how to pass it on to their kids. And the fact is, we just have not done a good job of that in the Big C church. We have not equipped parents to be able to be that primary discipler, like you just said, Dan, the primary discipler for their children. And one of the things I'm very excited about the Family Reformation Project and you guys in Canada is that now the practical equipping nature to the work that we do as we train family coaches, as we train parents in all these ways with specific tools. This isn't just ideas, right? Like preaching is good and powerful when it's God's word, but it's more inspirational and it's more, you figure out how to do it, but this is the right thing to do. Where that's not our approach at all. It really is an equipping approach. So talk to those in Canada for a moment about the ways in which you see you equipping other families for discipling their kids.
Well, our experience was through the family school, which is an online series of classes that we would do a couple of hours each. I think for us, it was every Monday night for a couple of hours over 8 weeks, and then another 8 weeks. And so that was, as parents, that was a really accessible way of learning, because it was after our kids were in bed, because we were in the Eastern time zone, after our kids were in bed. So we could really sit down, and we were tired, we are raising 3, they're still young. But we didn't have to go somewhere. We didn't have to go to a building. It was in our own home, which was super accessible. And then we were doing it with community, and with technology these days, it was with people that we could be interacting with through the week and kind of sharing our victories and grieving our defeats, if you like.
Yeah.
So we're hopeful to do Family School Canada.
Yeah.
In the next little while. That would be a big thing. And then the other thing, which we'll talk about later, is through the churches, is we are putting together a way of partnering with churches where we come alongside leadership and we train people in-house as family coach specialists.
Yeah.
So they're not bringing in the professionals to do it all for them, but we're actually working like the fivefold ministry to equip and empower the saints to do the works of ministry. So that feels like a really exciting door to open and see where that goes as well.
So good. I love it. And of course, tell us a little bit about the family and marriage coaching that you do as well. That is also another way of equipping families.
one of the things that we have experienced and that we're doing with you guys right now is some marriage coaching. You know, I've never done marriage coaching, but we need it, right? We all need it. And that's the thing is, the deeper you go, the more that God is going to work through and he's going to purify. So we've experienced that. And then I was recently trained, or I got my certificate as a family coach, and Rachel's working towards that. So coming alongside parents and individuals on more of a one-to-one or couple-to-couple basis, where we can actually work through specific issues and coach them to a place of having the epiphany or getting an answer or a way to move forwards, where perhaps they're so in it that they're stuck, and it requires someone else to come alongside and help them navigate those things.
Mm-hmm. So good. Anything on your heart and mind there?
Not that I can think of. Yeah. We're just we want you, if you're listening and you are Canadian, please do reach out to Dan and Rachel. Their contact information is below. They have such a heart for Canada and such a heart for family. And we're just thrilled that they have taken this baton and they are bringing this work to Canada.
Yeah, let me just read that out. It's contact.frpc@gmail.com. That's contact, contact.frpc@gmail.com, and you can reach them. And that's, if you are wanting help in your marriage or in your family, if you think family school, and I thought about this often. I think about this actually, but when you were talking, I was thinking, we will get training, right? How many hours of training and thousands of dollars did you spend, right, to be a doctor of optometry or a minister, right? How many hours of study in the work, like for our career?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, for our career, exactly. What's really important to us that we want to have skill at and succeed at, we invest time and money and effort and energy, a lot of it. And ongoing, right? Like we have to do as coaches, ongoing certification, I'm sure, other ongoing training. And why in the world, with something as important as our children and our generations, our family, why wouldn't we take a few hours and spend a few dollars and spend a few and invest in our families? Yeah. If we don't train our kids and ourselves how to do this, who's going to do it? We've learned that the church is not up to the challenge, or we would have a different result right now. But I think that's changing, and that's part of the heart of FRP. So it's been great to have you. We are looking forward to a long lifetime relationship with you guys and those three beautiful kids, and someday hopefully grandkids. They are delightful. So any last words from the Whites in Canada?
Well, we are here because God changed our lives through this ministry, and he used it to set us on a track that feels empowering and hopeful and exciting. And it hasn't been a completely smooth ride. We don't have three perfectly obedient children now, but we believe that the investment that we're making is worthwhile and it's going to bear fruit 100-fold. So I would just say to anyone who is hearing this, asking, is this worth the time, the investment? I want to give you an emphatic yes, it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we love you guys. That's it for today's program. Remember, whoever wins the family
wins the culture in the end.
We'll see you next time. That wraps up another inspiring episode of Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. We hope that today's conversation has left you feeling empowered and equipped to take action.
Remember, transforming families begins with transforming ourselves. Let's be intentional, loving, and persevere. You're not alone. We're right here with you.
We believe Proverbs 24:3. Wise people are builders. They build families, businesses, and communities. Through intelligence and insight, their enterprises are established and endure.
Thanks for joining us today. We encourage you to stay connected with us on social media, join our email list, and learn more about our resources and classes at the Family School by visiting thefamilyreformationproject.com.
Remember to subscribe, share with your loved ones, and spread the word about transforming families. We'll see you on our next episode. And remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end.